Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Central Florida Sportscast. It's your host, the main guy who's been here the whole time, Danny. I'm here with my pals, Eduardo and Adam. Hey, guys.
Hey, guy.
Hey, Danny, who's been here the whole time.
Yeah, no, I just didn't have a lot to say last time. Just nothing really, whatever. I didn't listen to the episode. I don't even know what we talked about. And when I say we, I mean I was there. Yes, definitely. It's good to be back. I did take a mental health day last week, but we have a great support system here. I still earn my salary. I got the same amount of money as I've been getting the whole time for missing an episode. So it's a sorry, we're adjusting to the studio here. That table is really well.
I know
done.
it really wants to collapse at any second.
All right, we're gonna speed through this thing. There is a lot of good news going on right now in Orlando. If you're looking professionally, sports wise, unfortunately.
What if I'm just an amateur looker though?
All right, there's definitely groups there, supporting the hobby.
Yeah.
A lot of amateur lookers out here in Orlando. But yeah, our poor UCF having a rough stretch here this fall. Football is, it's tough to say, but they are missing a bowl game for the first time since 2015. Not how we're wanting the trajectory of the program. Not how you want that to go. Everybody talks about the rocket launchers you can see from the 50-yard line. This is like the descent, and maybe there's some like fire and things, falling apart in the atmosphere. But we take these opportunities to learn and to design new parts for the Rockets and whatever.
Sure. If you are a Central Florida sports fan, especially now, if you look at like the professional sports, you understand that even though there are like really dark times where like things are going really, really, really bad, there is always the opportunity to like turn a program or, like a team around.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll touch on it later, but bottom of the table to top of the table, Orlando Pride is such a great example of, how quickly the tides can shift. Mm-hmm. And UCF is not looking so hot right now, but, I think we're going to get into today what they need to do to get back on track.
Right.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, that's kind of just like the beauty of sports, There's ups and downs, and just like life, there's highs and lows, and the low points make the high points just feel that much sweeter. So,
I mean, look, they already won a national championship.
Yeah, undisputed. Yeah.
Now they got to build back up to the next one.
Yeah,
we can't expect them to win a national championship every 7 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
It takes at least 10.
Yeah, so. Yeah. So we're starting the countdown. 3 more years, and we'll get that. We'll get another year up there on the stadium. So like I said, just picked up their 7th loss of the season against West Virginia, which. Tough going into the game. UCF was a slight favorite. West Virginia has not been having a great season either, but just couldn't get it done. The second half, UCF was already down 21 points early in the third quarter, and it's just tough to get back from that, especially when your offensive strength is running the ball. You're running at a time, and you need quick, explosive passing plays, and just not able to get that out of risk yet. He's young, obviously, a lot of room to improve, but gonna need to, take your lumps, as they say. But like I said, with the running game, RJ Harvey, he has been a bright spot for the team this year. He just tied in this last game the all-time touchdown record at UCF, tied Kevin Smith. So I think, in these times like where your team isn't really performing well or you're going through some rough stuff, I think it's fun to find those storylines that you can like hold on to. Like, okay, like you pick a few of your guys. You're like, all right, this guy, he's great. I love this guy. He's giving it all, even though the team is disappointing. And then, you have a story like this where this guy, he came, transferred from Virginia. He was didn't see the field up there. Came down to UCF, didn't really play much his first year down here. I think had 3 carries all season. Had some injuries he had to overcome, but the last 2 years really has come on. And like I said, he's tied the record. So this next game against Utah, I saw Gus said that it's definitely an area that they're focusing on. They want to get him that touchdown. And at least one.
They owe it to him. They especially after this stinker of a season.
Yeah.
They owe it to, because he's, like you said, he's been the bright spot of the season.
Yeah.
And he's a local guy, and he's a fan favorite. Obviously, it's his last year. They need to send him off the right way, because if you look at the rest of this team, it's probably going to be a couple years before they start to really kind of redirect the program. And losing RJ Harvey it's going to really set UCF back a little bit. I think had things worked out differently this year with, the quarterback and some of the other stuff that kind of happened throughout the year, you might be thinking a little differently. Like, oh yeah, we can, we're going to lose a really great piece, but we can kind of keep the engine moving. However, the way things have kind of played out this year, you lose RJ Harvey at the end of this year, next year looks kind of grim. And so you owe it to him, and you kind of owe it to the fans, too, to give them something happy to cheer about this year.
Especially for a local guy.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback prospect out of Edgewater High School, went to Virginia as a dual-threat quarterback, redshirted, didn't see the field, transferred over to UCF as a quarterback. They moved him over to running back, and he's been punching it in since then. So.
Well, and that's, if you are UCF and you're looking to turn this program around, those are the type of moves you got to make. You are not, because of the way and sort of how spectacularly UCF failed this year, you're not going to continue to attract any sort of high profile because of the way, money works in college football now. You're not going to, continue to attract high profile players out of high school anymore. You need to find you need to be Jafar and find the diamonds in the rough. You need to find the guys that have been discarded, that have been redshirted, that you see potential in, and then you need to beat teams that way and start building up your program that way. You need to rack up wins. You need to show people that you're a serious school, a serious not a contender, but somebody who takes winning seriously, and then players will want to come back again.
Well, I think that's part of the unique position that UCF is in currently, being in the Big 12, because the Big 12 kind of cannibalizes itself every year. I think there are still 7 or 8 teams that could make the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, based on different
1
tiebreakers
week left in the season.
So, if a couple of balls go UCF's way, UCF could still very much be in the picture for the Big 12 championship. They're not. They didn't get those bounces this year. You can blame that on a myriad of different reasons. But looking at their schedule next year, it looks the road games are going to be very tough next year. So UCF, if they want any chance at reaching a bowl game, they're going to have to protect playing at home. They're going to have to win these games. We have North Carolina A&T, Jacksonville State, UNC at home, Houston, Oklahoma State, Kansas, West Virginia. You got to find 6 wins there, because on the road at Kansas State, at Baylor, at BYU, at Cincinnati, those are not easy places to go in and win. Granted, there's no place that's easy to win in the Big 12. So, it's going to be really important for UCF to make that foundation Orlando and bring those local kids in, bring them in for visits, and kind of build a fence around the city saying, hey, if we have 3- and 4-star recruits in Orlando, they go to UCF. That's just what happens.
Yeah, stay home.
Yep.
Well, there's a chance you can think, we're going to talk about the other teams in Orlando as well, but you bring in those recruits, right? You say, this is what we do in Orlando. We're winners here. You take them to an Orlando Pride game. You take them to an Orlando City game. You take them to an Orlando Magic game with a team that's turned it around, and, you show them that in Orlando, this is the type of, these are the type of players we bring. And I think you do that, you sort of really instill the culture of what Orlando is as a city, rather than UCF. Just you leverage the city rather than just the program. Part of what we want to do with this show is to try to bring together sort of the fan bases from all the different sports, and that would be a good way to kind of start to bring them together rather than just use UCF's lineage. You start to use Orlando's. You start to see, use Orlando's, the Magic's tagline of Kingdom on the Rise. But I mean, that's, as far as like up and coming sports cities, Orlando is at the top of the list. I mean, because you're talking multiple sports here that Orlando is now starting to find itself, in the upper echelon of. The Magic probably the least of so, but like, especially professional soccer. Professional soccer, almost in every sense, runs through Orlando in the United States. It's an insane thing to say, but it's the truth. Like professional soccer in the United States starts and stops with Orlando this year. That somehow happened, and you need to leverage those things. You can't just live in your UCF bubble anymore. You need to explore the wider Orlando area so that the players want to be here in Orlando and not just be like, I am here only to be at UCF, because that's what happens when things start going bad. They go, hey, I don't want to be at UCF anymore, and they have no love for the city. So they're very easy to be like, I'm entering the transfer portal, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what, just touching on that, I think it's cool that, RJ Harvey stayed. But, it's so easy for a player to move on. Just if, after last year, first losing season UCF had in a while, with losing the bowl game, he was probably getting hit up by coaches elsewhere, like, hey, come on over to this program. We've got a nice running back stable. You can join in, win some more games, compete on the national level. No, he stayed and is now beloved and is most likely going to become the all-time touchdown scorer in UCF history, which it's cool, especially like Adam said, he's a local guy. I think just to bring that all together, like you have all of these Florida, it's a hotbed of recruiting. Get these guys into Central Florida, staying in Central Florida, and like you can really you can build something. That's you sent Adam. You sent a meme or a tweet to our college football video game chat about MAC recruiting. And it's like if you're building a MAC team, you recruit all these 3 stars in like these areas in Florida was circled, and these guys, like the big programs are overlooking you, but like you're talented. You come here, we're gonna do something special. So same thing. UCF, you got the Big 12 brand, you got the Central Florida like shine on you, so you can enhance that MAC strategy.
I like that you had to specify which chat, because you can't just be like, hey, check the football chat, and it's like, oh, the fantasy football chat? No. The college football chat. Oh, so the college football like sports, like the live games chat? No. The college football video game chat.
Our online dynasty chat.
Which honestly, I think we should be devoting like significant portions of the show to all of our fantasy and video game exploits. I think everybody would love to hear about that type of stuff. Speaking of these guys, I don't know why are they talking about their video games? Who cares?
Yeah. Speaking of a fantasy, I know it would be my fantasy to go see Natasha Bedingfield. Did you know that she's playing the tailgate for the UCF Utah game?
Wow, we gotta go.
I mean, that's unwritten, Danny. We're gonna go. But no, I saw that come up across my feed today, and I was like, because they do the night walk, and they have they bring out a musical act, and I think like Diesel Shaq has done it before, and I saw Natasha Bedingfield, and I was like, man, nothing's gonna get me hyped more than to beat the Utah Utes than to listen to.
Yeah, it's senior day. Let's send these boys out right.
Yeah, RJ Harvey's got Natasha Bedingfield on his beats as he's walking in.
Talking about the future of UCF, Gus Malzahn had to address some rumors that somehow started that he was considering retiring. Don't know, maybe he is, maybe that just got out a little early, but he did deny after the West Virginia game that he was retiring. So, that's just up in the air now, which, may or may not help with recruiting. That's the big thing with like college sports, with the recruiting. The coach's status can really just kind of dampen everything.
And I was looking at our 24/7 ranking, and every year since 2021, we are like pretty solid at UCF in the 30s recruiting, which you expect. We're in a great location. We have a large university with a dedicated fan base. We have some NIL money coming in, being transferred over to the university now, but we don't lack for resources. So we're kind of solidly in that 30 to 39 range in terms of recruiting. I just looked, and we are 62nd. We are just above USF without an on-campus stadium.
Oof.
So that's not something you want. And we are right behind BYU, who faces their own challenges recruiting players. So, I wonder how much of that is the uncertainty of Gus Malzahn and, is he going to be the head coach moving forward? And how much of that is just the shine not being on the university since we've had 2 losing seasons in a row. And, maybe some changes need to be made at the administrative level in order to get some of that shine back, because the Big 12 is hard enough.
Yeah.
And you got to start winning some of these recruiting battles.
Yeah, well, let me put my Florida fan hat on real quick and say, hey, well, listen, it's relevant. Obviously,
he has a really big alligator hat on now. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's got like some mechanics in it. The jaws are chomping. It said something. And we got to get some video podcasting started so you guys can see this.
Did you just steal the animatronic from Splash Mountain and put it on your head?
Don't tell anybody that. Nobody's supposed to know about that. Billy Napier was, understandably coming under fire going into the season and even earlier in the season. Results not where, Florida fans are expecting. And with that, the recruiting class was not anywhere close to where, it should have been. He was kind of brought in as like, oh, he's a good recruiter. Like he's got his army of analysts that are like going through tape and they're finding guys and, have all these like recruiting coordinators that really like revamped the whole approach and like, over through 2 seasons, pretty decent results. But like this class was nothing. Really, I think like 5 commits early in the season. Eventually, the athletics director puts out a statement saying Billy Napier is going to be the coach going forward, which was later clarified as going into next season as well. And like as soon as that hit, started gaining some momentum. So and then picked up some wins near here at the end of the season, and now you have all these guys like flipping and committing, and the class is going up. So I think that like that looming specter of like, well, this guy's not even going to be here next year. Why am I going to commit to play for him? Like it really can hurt your class. So, obviously, if the coach isn't working out and he stays, then it might not help recruiting at all. But I think, that dreaded vote of confidence sometimes is needed in this scenario. So just having that open-ended question here of, is Gus going to be back or not? Like it's kind of hurting the program overall. Like one more quick little Florida thing. Jeremy Foley, the former athletics director, once famously said, "What must be done eventually should be done immediately." Or probably flub the quote a little bit, but talking about firing Ron Zook midway through his last season there. So don't let that open wound fester.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, if you took that alligator hat off and you put on a UCF athletic director hat on, and you could hire a coach for UCF, is there a name that like sticks out to you that you could pinpoint as a replacement for Gus?
There is a name. I don't think it's necessarily likely.
Okay.
But just imagine this coach. He's wearing black and gold already. Deion Sanders.
Oh,
Good God.
Yeah. I don't think that he would do that. But, losing Travis Hunter, his son Shador is going pro. Those are 2 really talented guys. Maybe he wants to, cut and run without them. And, obviously he's got a lot of talented players out there in Colorado. Just flipped Julian Love, 5-star QB.
Yeah.
So, he could follow him to UCF. You're going to get – you saw, like, when he got to Colorado, just like the influx of talent. Like, he's controversial, but
that's an understatement.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he can get guys in, and I think that would be, I mean, getting him back in the state of Florida, obviously an FSU, player, does not have a great relationship with the university, as far as I know. So I think that might be, get him in there, and he might have a little bit extra motivation to stick it to him, keeping those recruits that might normally be looking at Big 3 schools, get him coming to Central Florida. Meaning the region, not the school. I didn't mean Central Florida as in University of Central Florida. I meant Central Florida, the area. Please don't yell at me. I know it's UCF. Yeah, so, I mean, again, do I think that's going to happen? No. Could it? Yeah, who knows? I mean, if it did, again, all right, one more time, I'm going to put this big-ass alligator hat on. I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared of that alligator hat, not going to lie. It's getting faster and faster.
It's crazy how quickly you can put it on and off.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've got a lot of practice. Like, my right arm is jacked. It's pretty heavy.
The Deion Sanders thing is so interesting because I think you're right. Like, as a coach, do I want him? No. But as a recruiter, how do you say no to that? Like, he just has, like, a national effect. And not just, like, it wouldn't just be from a recruiting standpoint, but from, like, a national media attention standpoint. Yeah. All eyes would then immediately shift to UCF because he's just so high profile. That, you had, like, celebrities going to Colorado games and stuff. Like, they were treating it like a premier sports team. I
mean, they were dog water 2 years ago.
Sure.
And they weren't great last year, but this year they just lost this last week, but they were like cruising for a playoff spot, which still could happen. I forget how things are shaking out the standings there, but like Adam said, any number of teams could end up in that championship game. So,
well, and imagine what he's capable of if he doesn't have to nepo baby his son into the starting quarterback role.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's very talented.
Yeah, Shedeur is having a great season.
But point stands. I think there is a little bit maybe different treatment for his sons than other things. Well, it is what it is. Yeah. He's only got he's got Shiloh and Deion Jr. I forget what years they are.
Wait, Deion Jr. is like a younger one? How pissed would you be?
I mean, he's younger than Deion Sr.
How pissed would you be if you're the older brother and then like the third kid is Deion Jr.
Yeah, I
you're
forget.
Like,
I don't know.
What the hell, man?
Yeah. Number 1, number 2, and my favorite.
Yeah, so that would be a very high-profile hiring, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of have to... I think we saw how Gus played out, and you have other options that exist out there that are kind of like Gus in terms of like legacy coaches that have been around the business for a long time. I'm thinking Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator at Ohio State, that I'm wondering in the new world of NIL if you wouldn't be smarter to go after a younger coach. I'm the first name that pops into my head, and I know he was on the short list before we hired Gus Malzahn, is Jamie Chadwell, who's currently leading up Liberty University. And I mean, he just wins everywhere he goes. He was an absolute winner when he was at Coastal Carolina. He just keeps winning at Liberty. So, I mean, I think that would be interesting. He's 47 years old, could kind of stick around for a long time and kind of build something here. Because I don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, Deion, outstanding. If Deion comes in, things change overnight. He's going to bring. But I think outside of that, I think we're looking at maybe a year or two down before we start building back up again.
Yeah, for sure. No, I do agree, though. I think you need to go after a younger, more like exciting hire at this point. If building off of the foundation, I think the thinking of bringing in an older established coach, like to maintain that culture and, the momentum and everything. But obviously it didn't really work out this last time. So when you're trying to start a new, you want somebody that has that energy, and especially like you said, the NIL era, like you got to have something that defines you as different from like some of those big money programs. Like, like, okay, you could go get an extra 3-4 million at whatever school, or you come here and like play for this guy that, is really like, he's exciting. He's, got a great impact on the team, and like you can see they're like thriving around him. So I think, yeah, I'm trying to think of some other names. Obviously it's a tough spot because Big 12, obviously you have that like power conference label, and it's in Florida. So like theoretically great opportunity here. But then you think with how everything is like restructuring with realignment and stuff, you got a lot more schools that are in these power conferences now. And it's like, do they consider this a lateral move? Do they consider it a step down from somewhere like that? Are you looking at now the group of 5, 6, whatever we're calling it now, schools? Like who are you looking at here? Like trying to think of in the area, like obviously the USF coach Golish?
Alex Golish?
Golish, yeah, like he's not gonna maybe he would, I don't know, but I feel like USF to UCF, that just isn't gonna happen.
I feel like from an image perspective, that's probably not the smartest move.
Exactly. Like I'm just trying to think of these lower tier schools and who might come up. Like Chadwell is a good pick. I was thinking like, SMU, but no, they're the ACC, and they're winning the ACC this year. So like Lashley isn't going anywhere. He's building something up there. So it's tough. I think just with the changing dynamics and landscape, there's a lot more question marks, I think, than in the last few years with coaching, like potential coach hires and their motivations and what they are prioritizing in their job hunt.
Yeah, you really have to lean into, I think, if you're UCF, the fact that the talent is already here. So when you're, trying to go after a candidate of quality, just saying like, look, do you know how much easier it is to recruit here rather than Memphis? Not saying that Memphis doesn't have quality ball players, but the talent comes. If you look at college football talent in the United States, for the most part, granted there's always exceptions, it's coming from Texas, California, Florida, and Georgia. That's where the quality players are. So just being located in the state and next to Georgia as well, having that pipeline there, I think it's really a selling point that you can kind of sell a young coach like a Jamie Chadwell on that vision of, hey, look, you're at Liberty. Virginia produces quality football. I think it's a little underrated, and I'm 100% biased in that. But come down to Florida, the talent's already here. You just need to plug and play and recruit and win.
Here's another approach. Find an offensive coordinator at any level who's lighting it up with their offense. Maybe not proven head coach yet, but get them in as your head coach. They can, lead the program, build up their offense, give them money to hire some good established coordinators, build up a staff that way. They can, focus on their side of the ball and be, oversee the whole thing, obviously as the head coach, but not be afraid or have too big of an ego to maybe overstep on the side of the ball they don't know as well. I think that's a recipe for success too. Obviously a little bit more of a crapshoot than finding an established coach. You can obviously architecting a high scoring offense is a talent, but it's a different talent than being a head coach of a college football program. So may or may not work out, but I mean, we've seen it happen before.
I mean, you can also bring him up and have him bring his quarterback with him.
That's true too.
Look at Jerry Kill and Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I didn't even consider that. Yeah. In this day and age, it's very easy to, Siggs up in Indiana. Took half of his roster up and, had great success this season. So there you go. Might be something to look into. All right, to dampen the mood a bit, we got to talk about the UCF basketball.
Wait, hang on. Who's UCF playing against next?
Oh, yeah, Utah.
Utah. They are opening as 8.5-point favorites.
UCF is, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Smash that over. RJ Harvey.
Yeah, he's getting the ball. Find his totals.
2 touchdowns.
Whatever they are, over.
Smash it over.
Mm-hmm.
Natasha Bedingfield performing.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Unwritten. Smash the over. She'll do it at least once.
Right. Are we going to start a best bet segment? We are not responsible for all of the money that you're losing because of our terrible betting options.
Except for that Natasha Bedingfield. That's a lock.
Right, yeah, that's a mortal lock. Bet everything you own right now.
All right, let's tamper the mood again. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so UCF basketball, hot start to the season. Fortunately, 2 losses in a row in the Greenbrier Classic up in West Virginia. Yeah, you know what? Stop going to West Virginia, UCF. It's not good. It's not good for the teams. They did face I looked, I forget where they're ranked now in the new poll, but Wisconsin, who has leapt up, rocketed up the rankings.
This is UCF, yep.
Yep. This season. So I think they're top 15 now. Looks like Adam's fact checking, so
yep.
we'll get back to that. Rough game against Wisconsin, but like I said, very talented team. And then they faced LSU in the third place game, and very frustrating. Had a 20-point lead at one point and choked it away. Ended up going to triple overtime before losing.
Really tough.
Which it's tough. Once you get to overtime too, it's just triple overtime is single overtime you're exhausted. Double overtime you're dead. Triple overtime you're already buried and decomposing. So I just, at that point, it's just whatever team is lucky enough to get a few baskets.
Sure.
Wisconsin is 15th.
They are 15th. 15 is top 15 as far as I know. So that is, as we say, a quality loss.
Yeah.
Quad 1.
Quad 1, yep. As of this recording, those are quad 1 and quad 2 respectively. Excuse me. Which come tournament time will be things that the committee looks at for seeding purposes. So still a long season ahead to get things back on track. Just a few road bumps right here before we get into conference play. But, hit conference play, make some noise in the Big 12. There's a lot of quality teams in the Big 12, so get some good wins against those teams. We're right back in the conversation. Luckily, the field is more than 25, so you don't need to be a top 25 team to make the tournament.
Mm-hmm. Big 12 sent 8 last year. So
yeah, so
be one of those 8.
Yeah, it's the whole world's in front of them. It's never fun to lose, but you
can't win every game.
Yeah, you take your lessons from the loss. You see what you need to adjust, and then go from there. I still think there's talent on the team, and I think that, they can make some noise in the conference. I see it happening, but I think that's enough UCF talk. We can maybe next time have some better news.
Let's hope so. But here come the Magic. I'm so excited to talk about Magic basketball. The last week, the Magic, since we last had our episode, the Magic went 2-1. They took a pretty tough loss to the Clippers. The Clippers, I found that game really interesting because the Clippers are the first team that I've seen in a long time that seem to be playing a very Orlando Magic brand of basketball. They have been sneakily good, and they have been doing it the way Orlando has kind of been doing it the past few years. They are grinding you out defensively. They are making you only take one shot when you get up the court. They are, getting lots of steals. They are very, very, very kind of scrappy. And also, they kind of had a pretty decent game plan, which was we're gonna make sure Franz is not in this game, and somebody else is gonna have to beat us, and nobody else stepped up. I don't expect that to happen every game, but the game plan did work that time. Now, we move on to the game they played the next day. It was a back-to-back. It was the LA double feature. They played first game against the Clippers, and then they made the long trek over to the Crypto.com arena to play the Los Angeles Lakers. Ugh. Let me tell you something. I have never been so happy with a win in my entire life. It was glorious. First off, Orlando, for most of that game, in my opinion, wasn't playing great. They were not really playing the brand of basketball that we have gotten to know from them and that we come to expect from them. They were having some really stellar offensive performances and then kind of being pretty lax on the defensive end. Part of that is LA has kind of transformed themselves into an offense first, defense 30th team.
Yeah, occasionally defense.
Yeah. And so part of that is just they're running a very, very potent offense right now. I think JJ Redick, specifically on the offensive end, is a very talented coach that can, really get the guys where they need to be offensively. And so part of that was that I felt like we were a little sluggish, we were a little slow, we were the second out of a back-to-back. And part of it is just we weren't playing the brand of basketball that I sort of knew from us. And it kind of came to a head after halftime. So after halftime, the Lakers built up to, I think it was something it was a double digit. We were looking like 12, 14 point lead for the Lakers. And it was starting to look like the night was probably going to be over for Orlando. And then Orlando did what they do, which is they locked the Lakers down defensively. They made sure that they didn't score for what felt like, 5 or 6 minutes straight. And Franz Wagner continued his all-star, all-NBA campaign, capped off by the end of the game where they foul Anthony Davis, with I think it's like 20 seconds left to go. Mm-hmm. Orlando is out of timeouts. They foul Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis goes and misses 2 free throws. What would have iced the game, because if he would have made those 2 free throws, it would have been a 4-point game, but he misses both of them, and it's now a 2-point game. So Franz Wagner gets the ball, he brings it up the court, and a lot of people are talking about the shot. You've probably already seen the shot by now, how great of a shot it was. But I want to call attention to something else that was really important that happened during that play. Something Orlando likes to do a lot is they set guard screens. So they use Franz and Paolo as their initiators for their offense, and then they will use a guard to come set the screen and then get the switch onto the smaller player and then move away. Jalen Suggs comes from the left side. He goes right in front of Anthony Davis, and then he takes off. And then Anthony Davis has to make a decision right at that point. He has to decide, do I stay with Franz or do I cover over for Jalen Suggs, who has now become a 40% three-point shooter? And so I think because of the improvement Jalen Suggs made in his shot, Anthony Davis had to take a quick second to question whether or not he needed to go and run over to Suggs, and that's what he ends up doing. So you end up switching, getting who was the defender? Cam Reddish on him. And Cam Reddish is their best perimeter defender anyway, but I think the difference there was that Anthony Davis probably provided a little bit of size, whereas Franz was able to see the hoop at that point. And Franz drains just the nastiest step-back 3. There's a shot that the Orlando Magic photographer got of Franz drilling the 3, and he's on his way back. And in the background, you see JJ Redick, and he's just staring daggers at the back of Franz Wagner. And it is one of the coldest shots I've ever seen. It's so, so, so nice. Franz Wagner, I think we talked about him so much last game, but what he's doing is so incredible because Paolo Banchero is still out and injured. He is very, very, very clearly taking some sort of leap, some kind of leap. And if you're Orlando, you start to think, well, what does the ceiling of this team now look like now that this is the case? What is Orlando's true ceiling? If we thought Franz was going to be like a fringe all-star and Paolo had the opportunity to be a superstar, we kind of knew what the ceiling was. What happens now that we think Franz and Paolo both have the potential to be superstars in this league?
And what's that going to do for defensive assignments when Paolo is back?
Right.
Who do you send your number one defender on? If you send him on Paolo every single time you get on the court, Franz is just going to burn you.
Right.
If you switch off to Franz, Paolo's going to burn you. And then, you got Jalen shooting 40% from 3, who will also burn you. So we're just in a really good spot, I think, offensively.
Yeah.
I think our offense, is a little underrated.
Yeah.
Just because of that grind and wear you down kind of defense that we play the entire game.
Well, and it's just sort of the way the basketball statistics go. Like, Orlando's whole game plan is to make it so that there are less possessions in a game. They do not want... the fewer the possessions there are in a game, the better it works for the way Orlando likes to play basketball. They want you to go slow. They want you to play in the half court. They want to take up the full shot clock. They want to grind this game out and make it take a slow... They want you to play like you're in molasses. Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of games Orlando seems to do the best at. And if you think about, like, who Orlando is and like what they can do and like what the potential is for Franz and Paolo, I think a big reason why you should be excited is because Franz Wagner has upped his 3-point percentage back to his career average. And that is what was missing last year. Paolo is really great at reading out of doubles. However, no one was respecting Franz's shot even a little bit last year. And that was an issue. And so now that people are going to have to respect Franz's shot, the offensive possibilities are kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to be really interested. I see a lot of discourse online talking about, people post that J. Cole, they act like two legends cannot coexist.
Yeah.
The lyrics with Paolo and Franz. I think it's going to be really interesting because you see it even on the bench with Paolo, just, his energy.
Yeah.
After that three or getting the technical foul off of the bench. He is clearly super engaged and is like, I could imagine the kind of competitor that he is. I mean, he's dying to get back out on the court. And he's, I forgot what game it was, but the camera panned over and you saw him kind of in Jamal Mosley's ear, kind of like pointing things out on the court, kind of showing what he is seeing from the game, which is just unreal. I mean, when you think about the fact that this is his third full year in the NBA, and he's already going over to the coach saying, like, hey, this is what I'm seeing from the other team's defense, like, and calling plays from the bench.
So, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, obviously injuries aren't good, but it's good to see players stepping up and making those jumps and those leaps in the absence of, a star player. And, in the long run could be very good for the team. Hopefully when Paolo's back, gets back to full strength pretty quickly. It's probably going to take a few games to knock the rust off, but then you're like unlocking it just a new level with the team.
I don't think it's like an issue though, because I think since you have Paolo, who's had Franz, who's had such like a great time since Paolo has been sitting down, you can kind of tell Paolo, hey, the first 10 games you get back, let Franz continue to kind of like drive the team. Let him continue. You play a little bit more relaxed. We're going to obviously ramp you up because it's an oblique injury. It's a rare injury that NBA players don't normally get. So the timeline for like how you should be responding to treatment isn't very clear. We don't have a lot of data about that as far as, being an NBA player. And so, let him take his time. Let him like sort of get back into a rhythm. And, you can have a lot of confidence with Franz now. Yeah.
The team is not really, anytime you lose a key player like that, you're afraid of, the drop off.
Right.
But obviously, after a few rough games, it seems like they really leveled out and have, how different, maybe like 2 or 3 more wins if Paolo was playing.
Sure.
Like,
We're 8-1 in our last 9.
Sure.
Yeah,
so.
like that's great. That's incredible. Like,
I mean, and I'm not just doing this because Danny's on the show, but like the parallels to the Boston Celtics just do not stop. Like they are like, you can very clearly see there was a few years ago, Jason Tatum goes down injured. Jaylen Brown has to sort of step up as sort of the leader of the team, and it's almost a mirror image of what happens in that case where Jaylen Brown kind of, you go, oh wait, Jaylen Brown is actually kind of nice and can, if needed, take over the reins of the team. Like you can see, like the blueprint is there, and it's very clear Orlando is following that blueprint in their own way.
Yeah, they just need a psychopath to coach. That's really the key. That's what really unlocked the Celtics last season.
They'll get there. I think Jamal Mosley is a psychopath enough. Now, we move on to the next game, which was the Magic and the Pistons. Franz, once again, incredible game. 30 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Didn't play in the fourth quarter. They were beating the Pistons so bad that Franz almost had a 30-point triple-double, and they didn't even play in the fourth quarter. The only reason I bring up this game, because it's almost like a game that you might not even want to bring up, is because during the game, Jalen Suggs goes down with a sore hamstring. We're now missing him. You know, we've got the Charlotte game on right now. We're now missing him out of this game, and it's going to be really interesting to see who steps up next, because Jalen Suggs has kind of been that. If Franz has taken the role of Paolo, it's Jalen Suggs who has taken sort of Franz's role as the secondary, playmaker, secondary, shot finder, secondary scorer. And now we suddenly find ourselves in another hole again, because Jalen Suggs is very important to this team offensively, but maybe significantly more so defensively. I think Jalen Suggs' defensive impact on this team is really I wouldn't say it's understated. I think everybody knows that he's like
an elite defender.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking literally all defense last year.
Yeah.
So we sort of understand. I mean, and like once again, the like parallels to the Boston Celtics, like he's literally like Marcus Smart. Like it is so crazy to me how similar the like early Boston Celtic years are to this Magic team. Thankfully, Jalen Suggs is a little better of a shooter than Marcus Smart, so hopefully he sticks around a little longer. But I think you follow that blueprint. You put shooters around your two bigs that can really kind of drive your offense, and then you see how far that can take you, at least for now.
Yeah, and the thing with the defense, obviously it's never good when you have a player go down. Jalen Suggs has been exceptional for this entire season. But with the, defense as a philosophy, the way that we play, I think losing him is a little less impactful because it kind of feels like a next man up on defense.
Sure.
So Jalen Suggs has been playing great defense. He's obviously a little better, a little more accurate of a shooter as Anthony Black,
right.
Another guard that is playing exceptional defense. So, you have Anthony Black to come in off the bench to at least give you that defensive piece that we might be missing from Jalen Suggs. Obviously, I love it when I see Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs on the court at the same time because the opposing team is just not going to score.
Sure.
But with that defense as a defense first philosophy, I think it's really, really special to see this team, kind of really put that to practice when one of your best defenders goes out. And, we're watching the Hornets game now, so, we can kind of see if that comes to fruition. But I'm willing to bet that, we're not going to see much of a drop-off in terms of defense. It's going to be a next man up kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think, obviously, losing Jalen Suggs is it's like obviously a position the Magic don't want to be in. But I think the Magic play good enough team defense that there's going to be another guy to kind of come up and sort of take the mantle, and you're going to see it's going to be fine. I think another thing to really bring up is Orlando is, I don't know if you guys know this. You probably do. Orlando is, as far as percentage goes, the worst three-point shooting team in the league. They are 30th out of 30 teams. They are dead last in three-point percentage. And now you're probably wondering, how did they get the record they have when they have as poor of a three-point percentage as they have? They have, I think it's 5 guys that are all shooting career low three-point percentage. That probably tells you a couple things. One, that's not sustainable. These guys that are career 40% three-point shooters like Gary Harris and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will not continue to shoot under their under their career averages for the rest of the season. So you have that to look forward to as a jump of hey, they're definitely going to end up in a place where this sort of evens out. The other thing is there's something to be said that the style of basketball that Orlando plays leads to because Orlando does not take a single possession off, because they are always fighting for every possession almost. The legs start to kind of get tired pretty closely in the game, and so you start to see missed three-point shots and everything because people's legs just aren't they're They're just not. They don't have the legs to make the 3-point shots. It feels like sometimes. I also think that there's a case that, like, as of right now, because Orlando is so bad at shooting threes, that every player, every time they shoot a three, feels like, if I don't make this, we're not going to win this game because no one else is going to shoot a three. They're just going to make a three. Like, I feel like there's like a psychological aspect to it as well.
Absolutely.
Like, you got to feel like as soon as a couple players start to turn it around from three, it'll be like a pressure release valve. And the three, I'm not going to say Orlando's going to become like a 3-point sniper team, but they're not going to miss them at the rate that they probably are right now. And it's honestly it's not encouraging that they're the last 3-point shooting team in the league, but it is encouraging that they are the last 3-point shooting team in the league, and yet they are still, finding themselves third in the East.
Yeah, it's great when you have like a pretty glaring weakness like that, and especially with how the game is today, with how important threes are and how many, earlier in the year people are like, oh, too many threes, we got to change the 3-point rules. And, the Magic, they're sucking at the threes right now, but they're winning.
Yeah, which is the most important statistic of all.
Yeah, at the end of the season, playoff teams are not determined by 3-point percentage. Right. It is wins and losses.
Right. Well, and like we're playing the Hornets tonight, and LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller are, as a duo, shooting 22.5 threes a game. What rank do you think that is as far as like how many threes attempted in a game for a duo?
Ooh, 22.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's 5th.
Okay. Danny, what's your guess?
7th.
It is the most. Number one.
Wow.
If they continue at this pace, they will have shot more threes in a game than any other duo in NBA history, which is insane that the game has kind of headed in this direction.
Especially for LaMelo and Brandon Miller.
Right. and obviously, the Hornets are having a better year this year, but I wouldn't say that that's like a sustainable way to like. But I saw the tweet that said LaMelo plays like he's still in high school, and just like watching him, you're like, that is 100% how he plays. Like I've never seen a basketball player that very clearly plays with like arrogance. Like he's just like a very arrogant basketball player that, it's very, very, very funny.
It's like he's thinking to himself like, oh, is this going to get on my mix? Like, is this going to get on my highlight reel?
Yes,
like every possession. He's like, okay, well, I gotta do something. This is gonna go really sick to Drake's Forever over the top of this.
God, there was that period of time where we just knew way too much about the Ball family.
Oh my God.
Whatever happened to LiAngelo? Did he get thrown into a Chinese jail? Is that what happened? He was with UCLA and got caught shoplifting in China.
It's time for your annual LiAngelo Ball check.
While we look up what LiAngelo Ball is up to.
Lonzo is learning to walk again.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Moritz Wagner because Mo Wagner has like really, really, really upped his game this year. And I think he's always been like a steadying presence. But I think, Cole Anthony is a player that kind of was always that like bench steadying, you had Cole Anthony, and he was always going to be that guy that would come in and give you a few points off the bench to kind of steady that bench unit. And then last year, a little bit through halfway, Cole Anthony started the year on like a 6-man of the year campaign. And then like through halfway through the season, he really fell off, and he just has not been the same player since, so much so that he's no longer even in the rotation. There are rookies getting minutes before Cole Anthony gets minutes. And so the bench has sort of needed a steadying presence to kind of go, hey, this is the guy, every night he's going to get us, a few points and kind of get us, kind of steady us when the bench comes in. And Mo Wagner this season is averaging 12, almost 13 points a game, 12.9. He's averaging 4.5 rebounds, about an assist a game, shooting 54% from the field. He's shooting 32% from three, which is about his career average, 80% from free throw. All of that is career averages, but he's definitely taking a little bit more on the points workload. He averages about a charge per game, which is kind of insane. He also is, just like Suggs, a very clear culture and energy setter. He is always there, always ready to cheer on his teammates, and also always seems to be in some sort of scuffle with the other team. Just at any point, you just can always find him like in some situation.
You gotta love like guys like that when they're on your team.
Yes, you love them when they're on your team, and you hate them when they're on the opposite team. That's the way sports works, and you love guys like that. I mean, we love Mo Wagner here in Orlando, and it is crazy that there are two real-life brothers on this team that have been leading the team in scoring for the past, 2 weeks. Maybe the most successful two brothers in the history of the NBA. I mean, who are we talking? Giannis and Thanasis?
Thanasis carries that duo, but
that have played together. Because, I mean, the Martin brothers, they've been good. The Morris brothers have obviously had good careers. But as far as playing together on the same team, I don't think there have ever been another, brother duo. We got to do an NBA brother deep dive to see if Franz and Moe are actually the best brothers that have ever played on the same team.
If they're actually brothers.
yeah, we're going to get some...
Got your LiAngelo Ball check.
Cool.
So he was last playing in Mexico. He appeared in 2 games. He is no longer playing in Mexico. A quote as of 2 weeks ago: "I'm still going. I'm not done. I like the big 3. I might just play in the big 3 because it's during the summer. I just like to hoop. That's it. That would be nice to hoop. I might get."
That would be nice.
I might get in the G League, try to get pulled up the old-fashioned way. So we might not have seen the end of LiAngelo Ball.
Wow.
In his
in
career.
G League. Yep. Who knows?
So there have also been, on Twitter, there's also been a lot of, I want to float some names to you guys because there's been a bunch of trade talk happening. People are already looking for trades because people can't just sit and enjoy anything. So we've already got trades that are, there are rumors, and there are always rumors, especially with the Magic. You can't really believe the kind of rumors. I think everybody wants to believe that their organization is a tight-lipped organization, but Orlando truly is one of the most tight-lipped organizations in the league. I think you look no further than the number 1 pick that they had, where everybody thought they were taking Jabari Smith Jr., and every media member had just sort of that's what they believed, and then suddenly they take Paolo at the number 1. I think truly people don't really know what's happening in the Magic organization, but there are rumors. First name I'm going to throw at you guys, both from the Nets, either of the Cams, so Cam Johnson or Cam Thomas.
I would love Cam Thomas, honestly.
Cam Thomas. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, I think sure. I don't know. It's I always have a hard time with these trades because it's how do these teams how is a player going to fit? It's you see how they are on one team. Obviously it's worth. You have buyers and sellers at the deadline always, and it's worth, if you think that this player is going to take you to that next level, it's always worth going after it. But, I think that would be good. You know what? I think, though, let me hit you with a hot take here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. Trade Paolo to the Lakers for, Bronny and, a bag of balls. I think that'd be the best.
Oh my God,
the best
you're
option.
right.
Yeah.
Who's the worst player on the Lakers? That's who I want.
Yeah,
he took off his alligator hat, and now he has a hat that just has Lakers Twitter on it. It's really weird.
A couple other names that have been floated around: Anthony Simons, Zach LaVine, CJ McCollum. I'm going to quickly go through all of these names and tell you why I don't like a single one of them. Cam Thomas does not fit the team's identity defensively. I think he is a small guard, and I think if you are a team that has built their entire identity around defense, you having just one weak cog, I think ruins everything schematically. I think the whole benefit of having the defense that we have and having one of the number 1 defenses is that we guard 1 through 5. And I think putting Cam Thomas out there would be a disservice to kind of what we do. I also don't think we could use him effectively. I don't think we could give him the ball enough for him to be because he's a rhythm shooter, and I don't think we could give him the ball enough to get into rhythm every game. I don't think he would fit. Cam Johnson, on the other hand, would be a better fit. However, I don't love his contract. So right now he's making about $21 million a year. However, he has some unlikely incentives that kick in if he gets traded. And so he goes from a $21 million a year player to a $28 million a year player. And I like him a lot less for $28 million.
Yeah.
For somebody who will almost assuredly be coming off of the bench, because you're not putting any of the Magic starters right now on the bench. You're not putting KCP, Jalen Suggs, Franz, Paolo. I mean, he's not going to play center, so it doesn't matter. But you're not putting any of those other guys on the bench. And then Zach LaVine, his contract is gigantic. I don't want it. Get it away from me. Anthony Simons, same thing with Cam Thomas. I don't think defensively he matches what the Magic kind of want to do. And I think he is statistically maybe the worst defender in the league. So I don't think Orlando should be looking in that direction. And then finally, you've got CJ McCollum, who I think is just old. I think it's fine to bring in youth it's fine to bring in like veteran leadership into a team, but I just don't think that like we're at a place anymore where like we're looking for like veterans like that. We're looking for like
KCP.
KCP is exactly the kind of veteran that we're looking for. We're looking for a veteran who will like kind of come in, make a couple threes, even though he hasn't really done that so far. Come in, make a couple threes, and then kind of move on from there. But I don't think any of these names kind of scream out to me as Magic guys. And I think the Magic front office has done a really good job so far of being really, really, really patient. And I would hate for them to lose their patience and pick up one of these guys and trade away a few picks, even though the Magic have picks to trade. I don't think they're going to keep all their picks. I think there's going to be some move that happens, but I want it to be for a Magic player. I don't want it to just take, somebody who's available.
Sounds like, to me, a good fit, just, player archetype.
Yeah.
You probably want like a 3-and-D.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, so Dorian Finney-Smith from the Nets.
Ooh. I don't hate that.
And he played at Florida, so he's got the Florida connection.
Sure.
Not that really means too much as far as on the court, but, it's fun.
I'm sorry, I just watched Anthony Black miss 2 dunks in a row.
Can we talk about... I'd like to bring that up.
Trade his ass.
I'd like to bring that up.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I'm a big Anthony Black apologist. He's an Arkansas guy. I'm an Arkansas fan.
Sure.
Woo pig. Anthony Black has really good lateral speed.
Yeah.
He has really good lateral. He gets to the basket a lot more than I think he should, just based on his quickness. One thing about his game is he gets to the rim and he needs to work on like his layup package. I feel like it's a little too predictable. He gets blocked a lot on the way up, and I think it's just because he needs to work on his what's in his bag a little bit around the rim. Granted, I have no game around the rim, so who am I to say anything?
Right.
But we just see that a lot. Where he is in like a high percentage area, and it either gets blocked or it doesn't go in.
Sure. Well, and I think that's like a young player thing. Like he's gonna learn how to get out of that. Like he won't he'll shoot his way out of that. Goga Bitadze has like a similar issue with me right now, where I really like his fit with the team, but it feels like he will get like a smaller player on an island in the post. They'll pass him the ball, and then he'll just like not know what to do with it. He'll like freeze, like step down with both feet, and then just kind of be stuck there.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it is hurting us in like a bunch of different ways. And we're winning right now, so you can't be like too much of a negative Nancy because like things are working. However, there's always like room to improve. And in the like Wendell Goga debate, that's the kind of thing I miss about Wendell is the amount of not rim pressure, but the amount of fluidity that Wendell would kind of give you as far as like when he rolls to the rim.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think the Magic, and we're watching this like just horrendous first quarter from the Magic that are just, I think they're going to be fine. Every shot, if you want like live commentary about the Magic Hornets game, I think they're going to be fine. I think right now every shot is not falling, and so it's really bogging down the offense. It's allowing the Charlotte Hornet players to kind of clog the paint and clock all of the driving lanes because they don't fear anybody's shot, because right now they're shooting like, I don't know.
They're shooting 30% currently.
For the game?
Yeah, 30 for this game. For the first quarter.
Yeah, they're shooting 30%. Yeah. No shot is going in. Shots that they make normally. I think we're just fine. And I was watching some of the shots that Charlotte players are making. They're making some crazy shots.
They're hitting 61%.
They're hitting, I expect that to level out. So I think this game is going to be fine. I expect our guys to kind of like, and if for whatever reason you lose a game because the Charlotte Hornets are like blowing your socks off, making crazy shots, you just sort of wipe that. You like, move on to the next one.
That happens. That happens to every team.
Yeah. You know, every team is bound to get hot at some point, and like if this is the Charlotte Hornets night to like just like blaze past us, like let them have it. We don't have Suggs. We're literally down 3 starters right now. There's not, no team in the league can withstand that much punishment.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to talk about the sport that has really sort of elevated right now in Orlando. Adam, take it away.
Hey, did you guys know that Orlando is now a title town?
You're goddamn right it is.
Big shout. I'm going to start off, before we get into the NWSL, we're going to work backwards. Orlando City, they beat Atlanta 1-0 on Sunday. It was a sellout crowd. It was absolutely electric. The atmosphere was fantastic. Huge shout out to everybody on the wall. The wall was packed. It kind of reminded me of winning the U.S. Open Cup. It's the last time I've seen the wall that full. And it really, the atmosphere in the stadium, anytime you play Atlanta or Miami, one of our main rivals, it's always electric. But there's something, this is the first time we ever played Atlanta in the playoffs, and there was something that just kind of elevated that experience. And, we not only played Atlanta, but we dominated them from whistle to whistle. So I just want to throw a few statistics out your guys' way. So, in the match between Orlando City and Atlanta United, Atlanta led possession 51-49%, which was really good for Atlanta. Good job, guys.
Sure.
You had a way to have that ball.
You had a majority
Barely
of the
more than
possession. They had 0 shots on target.
Hell yeah.
They took 8 shots total to Orlando's 14 total shots and 4 on target, and it only took 1, which was in the 39th minute. Ramiro Enrique, there was a corner kick that kind of bounced around the box a little bit. Ramiro Enrique kind of slid forward and kind of tipped the ball in. It slid right through 5-hole of Brad Guzan, who was diving towards the ball, into the back of the net. The place went nuts. It was fantastic. It's a true Poppy special. Everybody complains about these Poppy specials where Orlando scores a quick goal and then parks the bus and defends. But Orlando really didn't even have to defend all that well this game. They did. But Atlanta just didn't seem very interested in scoring a goal. They weren't threatening in the final third. They would play it out wide, and they would cross the ball into the box, but they would only have 1 or 2 players in the box. They never really got numbers forward, which is super interesting because, in both of the games during the regular season that Atlanta beat us in, it felt like their job was, and their main goal was to overwhelm the box. They would play the ball out wide, they would overwhelm the box, they would whip it in from the corner, and somebody would find the ball on their head to the side of the net. But that wasn't the case this game. They weren't threatening at all, which was absolutely insane. Eduardo, Danny, did you guys get a chance to watch any of this game?
Yeah, I got to watch some of it, and I'm sure it's like really frustrating for other teams to watch Orlando like score a quick goal and then like try to not play the game for the rest of the game. But you just, come on, man. Like, you got to do what you can to win.
Yeah, nobody asks how you got it done. They just see 1-0 final score and we move on.
You won. You won the game because that's the way the rules are. Like, you did what you had to do. You might not like it. You might want for like a higher octane offense, but like, I think both Orlando City and the Orlando Magic have like gotten a reputation for their defensive ability, and although it might not make for like the prettiest, it's how you win games.
Yep.
And you can't be mad at that. Orlando City has a really great opportunity to follow in the footsteps of the team we're going to talk about later and secure another championship in the same year for Orlando.
Which would be insane.
It would be crazy. And like, I think Orlando the city has already surpassed my expectations for this year after like the first few games, because we talked about it on the last episode, but after the first few games this year, things were not looking good for City.
No, people were calling for the coach's head.
Yes, they wanted Pereira out. They wanted, big moves. They really hated the signing of Luis Muriel. I thought, people really just kind of hated everything Orlando did or City did this past offseason. And they've really done a really great job turning it around. And I think if you can sustain that for a full season, you take the kind of momentum you need into a postseason. Like, I think from here on out, especially after the Eastern Conference Finals, it's all gravy. Like, whether you win the championship or not, you've proved that Orlando, belongs here and that, the future of the MLS runs through Orlando. And I've seen a lot of people online lamenting that Orlando and potentially Seattle will be the final, right? Because Seattle's the other one, the team that's in there. It's Seattle versus LA Galaxy, right?
Yep, it's Seattle Galaxy.
And then and then Orlando, New York, right?
Yep, the New York Red Bulls.
Seattle, Orlando, you're talking about two quote unquote small market teams versus the giants of New York and LA.
Yes.
And how bad that is and how casual fans only care about when the big teams are out. Can we put that idiotic notion to bed? That's not how that works.
I hate that every sports league, when there's a small market team that's threatening to get to the championship, it's the ratings. Who cares about the ratings? I just want to watch good teams.
And also, Seattle plays in the Seahawks Stadium and routinely sells it out. This idea that Seattle, MLS was built on these quote-unquote small market teams. You have the Cascadia Cup between Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver, which was, just a group of fans for these three clubs that came together and said, hey, we hate your teams. And they said, yeah, we hate your team. And they said, wouldn't it be really fun if we had a trophy that us as the fans passed from fan base to fan base for whichever one of the three of our teams beats the other ones the most throughout the season. So you have that local kind of tradition.
Yeah. Did you guys have that in your high school? Did you have what did you have?
So our rival was a Bulldog, and we were the Bruins. So we had a kind of a wood carving statue of a dog and a bear.
Oh, sick. Did your team have anything like that? Or your school have anything like that, Danny?
We didn't have a physical trophy, but the Phillipsburg Easton Thanksgiving Day rivalry is pretty famous. I mean, as far as high school rivalries are, it was on ESPN one year. I think the 100th year. So that's pretty cool.
Or the school that I went to, it didn't make any sense why this was, because we were Colonial High School and then there was University High School. We had the boot game, and there was a boot where half the boot was painted in Colonial colors and half the boot was painted in University colors. And then every year, whoever won the boot game got to keep the boot in their trophy locker, and they just had collection of the boot. And it's the kind of thing that we're talking about these small market team things, and I didn't bring this up in the last segment because I forgot, but Orlando, we talked about this last week, that Orlando and New York had gotten flexed out for Dallas and
Memphis.
Yeah, NBA.
And in the NBA for the NBA Cup, and they have to be on TNT. And they have since been flexed back in because most likely whoever wins that game will win Group A of Magic Knicks. And it is just such an embarrassment to say these things that small market teams, the ratings are better when big market teams are there. And it's it's this weird self-fulfilling prophecy. Yes, big market teams get more attention because you give more attention to big market teams. That's it. If you only cover the big market team, obviously the general audiences aren't going to know who they are because you never cover them, because you're so dependent on the ratings of Metro Los Angeles and Metro New York that you don't care about the entire rest of the country. So your league dies. It's the NBA is having this problem right now, where they are down in ratings, and a big part of that is because they don't market the teams that aren't at the top. And so you'll have a year this year where they have been really, really pushing for the 76ers and the Bucks and everything. However, both of those teams are having awful years. And Orlando and Cleveland are having great years. And you do not see the NBA talking about either one of those teams on a regular basis. They are still talking about, why can't the 76ers get it together? How will this affect LeBron's legacy? Stuff like that. And if the NBA and MLS wanted themselves to be taken seriously, they would care about growing the league as a whole and not just these big market teams.
I mean, you see that with coverage all year. I know we talked about the way the officiating went all season, but you could not watch an MLS broadcast this year and them not do some kind of 5-minute segment on Messi. It was everywhere. Granted, it is so good for soccer in the United States to have more eyeballs on it. But when you are spending your entire time promoting one player rather than the entire league, you're not really taking full benefit of what's going on.
Right.
So for these quote unquote small market teams, Orlando and Seattle have better attendance than New York Red Bulls, and LA Galaxy does have a slightly higher attendance than Orlando. They are under Seattle. So if you look at these quote-unquote smaller markets, Atlanta United and Charlotte, granted, down here in the Southeast, Atlanta and Charlotte aren't small markets. But in terms of the national picture, they're not New York. They're not LA. So they don't get the attention that those teams would get. Those are your top two teams in attendance. If you look down towards the bottom, we got both New York teams. We have Philadelphia. We have Dallas. We've got LA. So some of your more Miami. So some of your more established markets that get pushed, you're not seeing that fan attendance. Because in Orlando, in New York, you're competing with 2 baseball teams, 2 basketball teams, 2 hockey teams. You have 2 MLS teams in New York. Granted, one of them play in New Jersey, all that fun stuff.
A professional sports team that has the name New York that plays in New Jersey?
That would never happen. But, there's a lot to compete with, whereas in Orlando, we have a lot happening, and we've got tourism and the theme parks, and we have a lot to do. But on game day, it's an Orlando City game day. You tailgate all day.
Yeah.
That is what you do. So it's just crazy to me that narrative even exists online, when we've proven time and time again that Orlando is a sports city, and that we come out and we support Orlando City to the extent that we do. But Orlando City takes care of business. We've got the New York Red Bulls on November 30th. I believe it's a 7:30 kick, which is, it's going to be great. The atmosphere is going to be electric. I already have my ticket. First game in the Eastern Conference Finals for Orlando City. I'll be there on the wall.
Hell yeah.
Come, have a beer with me. If you see me in the crowd, it's going to be electric. It's going to be, I'm so excited. It's probably outside of maybe the U.S. Open Cup, the biggest game in Orlando City Club history. And that's including winning 2 USL championships. This is just absolutely everything. And I'm really excited to see the stadium packed and just ready to go. Now, we brought some hardware home, boys.
Hell yeah.
Orlando Pride on Saturday gave Orlando its first major professional sports championship when they defeated the Washington Spirit 1-0. And, I had complained about it being a neutral site game. And I'm still going to complain about it being a neutral site game because although on television the stadium was full, I've got some firsthand accounts from some friends that went out for the game that the Orlando Pride supporters were kind of tucked away into a corner in the upper level. And Washington Spirit supporters were there right next to the Kansas City Current supporters. And because Orlando had beaten Kansas City, the way that it works, for the championship is you buy your tickets ahead of time for the most part. So the Kansas City Current fans had already sold out the stadium. Families were going and taking their kids to see the championship game. It didn't matter what teams were there. But because Orlando had won, you had all of Kansas City rooting for Washington. And then you had the Washington fans there rooting for Washington. So somebody described it to me as it was like 80-20 or like 90-10 rooting against Orlando. And they would boo every time Orlando touched the ball, which is crazy, especially for a quote-unquote neutral site game. But Orlando takes care of business. who else but Barbara Banda in the 37th minute tucks it in. It was a crazy goal. So she runs out the right wing, one-on-one. She has a bad angle. She goes off to her off foot, makes the defender slip, tucks the ball, and I mean, she tucks it right next to the goalkeeper, who is unable to get down, and it just slips right through. It was an incredible goal. It really was. And, you know, the game was chippy. On the almost exact opposite scale of the way Orlando City played, here's the stats for this game. Washington had 58% of the possession to Orlando's 42. Washington took 26 shots to Orlando's 9. Woo. And the shots on target were 5-3 in favor of Washington. Barbara Banda wins your MVP of the championship game. But huge shout out to Anna Morehouse, goalkeeper for Orlando Pride, and you know all of the incredible saves that she made. Barbara Banda got injured towards the end of the game. There was a lot of, like I said, a lot of chippiness. Gabrielle Carl in like the 97th minute kind of went studs up on Barbara Banda. And I was watching the game and I had the radio broadcast on and it sounded nasty. And honestly shocked she only got a yellow card for that. But at the end, it doesn't matter. Orlando takes home the championship, 1-0. We are officially NWSL champions. And now there is no excuse for Interco Stadium not to be packed for every single Orlando Pride game.
100%.
Tickets are affordable. It is a great time. It is super easy to get in and out of the stadium. I honestly can't think of a reason why you wouldn't go to an Orlando Pride game next year.
And, it needs to be said that this is the first professional sports championship for the city of Orlando. Orlando has not had one yet. And so you have to, that has to be taken into account that this is a big deal for Orlando sports fans. If you're a fan of Orlando sports, you need to be a fan of this. You need to be a fan of what the Pride did today. Or not today, but what the Pride have done. And, you need to show out and show support. You want a championship. You want this kind of culture. You want Orlando to be a premier sports destination. You have to support the teams that are doing well.
Yeah, and, the NWSL just continues to grow. I believe Boston is going to be getting a team in 2026.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
And, it just... Caitlin Clark is trying to bring a team to Indiana. To Cincinnati. She's trying to bring a team to Cincinnati, which, I mean, it's just crazy. You have all of these celebrities. We have Grant Hill here in Orlando, who's part of the ownership group, on top of the Wilf family. So the Wilf family owns the Minnesota Vikings. They own Orlando City, and they own Orlando Pride.
They just love purple.
They bleed purple. And I saw Mark Wilf speak not too long ago. They had the championship parade today, and Mark Wilf spoke about bringing home this championship to Orlando. And November 25th is officially Orlando Pride Day here in the City Beautiful. And it's just, it's crazy to see how far we've come. I'm going to cue something up, Eduardo. I'll let you finish your thought here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to cue up, I think this was the first year Orlando Pride had even made the playoffs. Mm. So it truly is a come from nothing to winning it all story.
You got to be... Oh, go ahead.
I think it's... Well, I don't know. Hopefully, I think that the fact that it's a women's sports team that has won that first championship, I hope that helps build up just in general the support for the women's sports here in Orlando, because I think it's been over the last few years, definitely there's been, I think, just a rise in popularity across everything. And then WNBA, there's a professional women's hockey league now that just started, which I don't love that name, but
the PWHL.
The PWHL, it's kind of a mouthful, but I think it is it's been growing, and I think people are, well, for the most part, maybe I'm being idealistic, people are getting over the whatever qualms they had, and they're just they shouldn't be playing games and be in the kitchen making me a sandwich. Like, you still see those comments on Twitter and stuff.
Twitter sucks.
Well, yeah, it's a cesspool.
It is awful. And it's such a great opportunity for a market like Orlando with, there's a good chance, even with as much as the population is growing, Orlando's not going to get an NHL team. We have the Lightning. The Lightning will never allow Orlando to have an NHL team.
There's no way.
But Tampa doesn't have a PWHL team.
Yep.
Stick them there. Orlando, stick them in Orlando.
Hey, bring back the Orlando Miracle.
Bring back the Miracle. With the WNBA, bring them back to Orlando. I know Atlanta's has the Dream. Mm-hmm. I would be surprised if Miami doesn't pursue a team. So let's really start to bring back women's sports to Orlando. Yeah, no, but like bring the WNBA back, bring PWHL to Orlando. You have good attendance for the Solar Bears, despite them being a 500 hockey team. Imagine bringing a professional, women's hockey league team here to Orlando to play at the Kia Center. And, I think the opportunity is endless. And I think with Orlando being such a young city, you have that opportunity to kind of tap into markets into sports that, people don't think of first. We have the Professional Volleyball Federation with the Orlando Valkyrie that play at UCF. I believe they made the championship game. I believe they lost. Yeah. But you have such a great opportunity for this growing city, and I'm so glad that the Orlando Pride were able to kick it off and get the party rolling for us, just winning titles, because that's what I'm fully expecting Orlando to start doing is winning titles.
Yeah. I think as somebody who grew up in Orlando, I've wanted Orlando to be like a sports town and to have like a rich sports history, but you can't, like, there's only so much like grassroots, like fan movement you can do without success from the teams. You need to have a couple successful, like truly successful championship seasons for you to build that kind of culture, like to build that kind of rabid fan base, even just like getting to the NBA finals or getting to the MLS finals or winning the NWSL Cup. Like, those are the kind of things that like that creates a culture in the city that says, hey, we're winners. We win championships here, and it creates memories for people as children so that when they grow up, they want to be fans of these teams.
Yeah, and you see like with MLS in Miami with Messi, or I'm sure you experience this having been a Magic fan longer than we have, when Miami had Dwayne Wade and and LeBron. I mean, how many kids that grew up in Central Florida are Heat fans now because the Magic were terrible? Yep. And you had the big three in Miami that were just absolutely, they were the cool thing to like. Yeah. So the only way that you stop that as Orlando teams is win. Yep. You win and you make it cool to wear a Magic jersey again. 100%. And I think they're on their way.
Yeah.
They look good. At the very least.
That's true. As far as like, if Orlando went back, and I'm sad that we're going back to the Magic right now, but if Orlando went back, the Magic went back to their like classic like jerseys full time, they would be up there with like the best jerseys in the league.
Agreed.
I think they're already like good. They've got good colors. I think the jerseys look good. Like the ones that they have right now, they're statement jerseys. They're good jerseys. But I think if they go back to their like classic jerseys, they're like a top 3 jersey in the league, like easily. Like I think you've got like, obviously you've got like the classics and like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the highlighter Laker jerseys, but like the Celtics jerseys, like you can't like hate because they're
classic.
They're classics, right? Like, but like past those, I think Orlando's.
Yeah, I think it may be like Orlando and the purple Raptors.
My God, that Vince Carter, like the Raptor dunking court. Oh my God, bro,
it's so hard.
I hate the Raptors.
Same. I hate every fan from Toronto, but man, that's a beautiful court.
It really is.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Central Florida Sportscast. Unless we got something else, Danny. You look really sad.
No, I thought I was hosting, so I thought I was going to get to do the outro.
Danny,
but
what's happening next?
I don't even know. What are you talking about? What's happening next? Like me closing the podcast, or just like in Orlando sports in general? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. You threw me off. Well, I mean, we have on November 30th a match against the Red Bulls. Magic are playing, they're 18 games in the season. They're going to be playing for a little while. Utah coming up on Friday, which is that the 30th? Yeah, that's the 30th, right? I don't know. We just talked about the 30th being when City's playing.
Oh, they're playing on Black Friday?
They are, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So
that's the 29th. So 29th, Magic. 30th, Orlando City.
Magic are playing on Thanksgiving?
The 29th is
Friday.
Friday.
No, that's
got it.
UCF. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot on the docket here. Keep your eyes open. UCF basketball. Big 12 play starts, I believe, New Year's Eve, December 31st. I think they're playing. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Texas Tech.
Yep, because we talked about the tortillas last week.
Yes, the tortillas. Isn't
Hell
it legal?
Yeah. Is it legal?
But until then, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at CF Sportscast. Feel free to shoot us an email at cfsportscast@gmail.com. And until then, be well. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Yes. Oh, no, I thought it worked. Anyway, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, bye, y'all.